Perfect. Okay, so we're live. We're actually not live. We're recorded, and YouTube and Facebook and Zoom are, and they're not talking to each other, which is so interesting because I had that just recently with my little new, super cool microphone. It wasn't talking to my computer after my Yeti microphone wasn't talking to my computer, and I spent a long time trying to figure that one out. And I went ahead and broke down and not broke down, but went ahead and bought a really cool one. And then it wasn't talking to my computer. And then it magically did. And so Katie and I have really cool stuff to share. And we're like, what is going on? And it reminds me, I'll tell you just a brief story, then get Katie in. It reminds, so anyway, welcome to the End Anxiety and Depression Forever group, our Facebook Live, which should be Facebook Live, and our Crush Imposter Syndrome and End Anxiety Forever stuff. So we want to tell you some cool stuff. It reminds me of, what does it remind me of? Oh, when I almost, I was in a big transition in 2012, and I was heading up from San Diego, where we were living, to a really cool trip to go to Portland, Oregon, visit some friends, then go to take the train from there to Seattle, take a matrix energetics class, a healing class, and then take the train to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and then visit our friends, and then fly back. And the day before, I got a call from my friend Esther, an acupuncturist who was really good friends with Louise Hay. And she goes, Ralph, I just was at Louise Hay's condo, and this amazing homeopath, Malcolm Smith, was there presenting, and you have to get an appointment with him. He's from Portland. So I thought, well, I'm going to Portland this weekend, tomorrow. So I called him, and he picked up the phone. He's like, hello? And I'm like, is this Dr. Malcolm Smith? Yes. And so I told him, what I was up to, and he says, well, just stop by the office on Sunday, the day after you get in. And I'm like, wow, okay, I'll have a session. And so I went to bed, and we're all packed up, and I got the worst earache, and I was like, I can't fly. I'm going to blow my head out. It's like my eardrums will blow out. And so I was so mad. And I told Jen, you just have to go up. You take the vacation. I'm just going to stay here. And then later, like 5, 6 in the morning, it was cleared up enough. And I said, I think I can make it. So I flew, and it was fine. And on Sunday, I was walking the streets of Southeast Portland, and I always wanted to live in the Pacific Northwest. And it was a beautiful Sunday morning, and people were just starting their Sunday morning, cloudy sounding morning. So for me, it was beautiful because I never saw clouds in San Diego hardly. And I loved rain, and it was just a quiet Sunday morning, and people were starting their jog and their walk, and they had their coffee. And I'm like, I want to live in a neighborhood like this. Golly, there's trails and there's forests, and it's like, ah. So I went in to talk to Malcolm, and a 2.5-hour intake meeting session, a homeopath, and he said, I told him the story of, like, I almost didn't make it. He says, this happens a lot. A lot of people cancel the day before or right before their session, and they have something come up that they just can't make it. And he says, what happens is there's a door, and you come right to the door of your big transformation, and to go through the door, your ego is not coming with you. And your ego, like the part of you that thinks it's human and it thinks it get hurt, and the part of you that has all these opinions and beliefs, it can't go through that door. It gets left behind. It goes away. That false illusion that we're small and that sort of thing. And he says, when you come up to that door, a lot of times the ego says, oh no, not that door, any door except that door. Sprain your ankle, have a car wreck, get slapped down, something happens where it's like, you are not going to that door. Now, how do you tell when you're going to the door that's a transformation like that, and you're just getting told by the universe, no, that's not the way to go. You got to do a different, we have a different path for you. So that's a kind of funny thing. And that was 2012, December 2012. And I always want to live there. By April, I'd heard about Cobb houses one day. And in that day, Jen and I decided we're going to go do it. So we spent $3,000 for a Cobb House workshop in Portland, Oregon, that was coming up in June. And I'd never taken 3 weeks off in my life. And we're like, okay, we'll take 3 weeks off. And then our friends from Portland said, hey, our house is, we're going to move to Copenhagen for the year. You can just have our house for the summer if you want, or as long as you want. We thought, wow, we have a house for the whole summer if we want. So we said, you know what? I just found out that I just got my running back. And so I just figured out that I didn't want to live in San Diego, especially now, because they had fluoridated the water and it was poisoning me. And I wanted to live in a place like Portland that didn't have fluoride, or the Northwest Vancouver, BC, and all these towns up here. A lot of them don't do that. And we just in an instant decided we're going to take the summer off. So we shut our entire practice down, and Jen figured out how to Airbnb our house, and we had our friend to manage it a bit. And we sold my Audi because it's not a 4-wheel drive, it's low car, and bought a 4x4 pickup, bought a tent, and we hit the road. And that summer we spent the whole summer in the Pacific Northwest. Actually, this was 3 weeks in, been learning how to skip stones, and by just a few months later, we had moved to the Northwest. And I almost didn't make it to that homeopathic thing. And halfway through the session, he just started laughing. And because I had this one specific trait that I really was just bugging the crap out of me. And he's just laughing. And he goes, "Oh my God, we got this, man." And he said, "This is your remedy." And homeopathic remedies have a story. And the story was like exactly my dharma, my path, my purpose. It was like, oh, and it was the exact same story, a different thing that a different homeopath had told me years before. And he had whispered a mantra in my ear, a secret mantra. He said, "Don't tell this to anybody. And here's what it means." And it was the same thing that the remedy meant. And so it's like, so Katie and I were talking about possibilities because we've seen some big, big changes. And how do you know when you're at that door and it's a message like, "Hey man, woman, this is your door." Or it's like, "No, that's not the way we want you to go. Universe says do this." So I want to just open that up, and because we've got something cool that's going on, and we just want to talk about it. So
yeah. I always tend to find that when there's that something big, then you end up sick or injured or whatever. And sometimes it's not even you. I remember when I put on my very first show that I produced, I did pretty much all the choreography. I was singing it was live band, like first time I ever did a show. And I was really nervous, obviously, producing your own show and being in it and being responsible for it. That's a big thing. And my daughter ended up getting really sick that night. Wasn't me, it was her. So I was like, and I keep thinking about this because I'm like, did I transfer my anxiety about my show onto her? Because I was so nervous. And it blows my mind, the energy around when you have something that's so big that is really transformational, as you said, or life-changing, or you cross off your bucket list, and the energy that you carry around it going into it, not knowing the outcome. And we tend, or maybe just I tend to get really caught up in the worst case scenario of everything that could possibly go wrong. However, our brains are wired to make us go to that worst case scenario so we don't die. But when we think about that, it closes off all those other possibilities that could be available to us. And we tend to get so just narrow focused, and we stand there in front of that door and it's just like, okay, well, now what? And so do we open it just a crack and take a peek through? Do we open it and fully step through and say, F it, I'm just doing it? Or do we open it and kind of just put our foot in, realize, oh, this is too big, I need to step back, and when we get to that door, it literally everything we want is on the other side. So why are we so afraid to go through?
Yeah, when we got up here, I love the trails in Bellingham, and I just would walk around the trails where we were staying for 7 months in a rental place, trying to sell our house in San Diego and trying to find a place up here. And I just had this like, oh man, this is going to be such a great life for Ben. And I could just imagine him with the little kids, and then growing up and teenage years, and trails and wonderful community. And but I was scared because I didn't know how to do my business anymore, because I had a physical therapy practice that used insurance. People would come with insurance stuff, and I didn't want to do that anymore. And I want to do healing stuff, and just have a money exchange instead of like insurance. But I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know if we could do that. We had a nest egg of money from if we could sell our house in San Diego. So what I did was we found a place out by the mountain, and I was going to live a smaller life. Like I was going to start to farm. I don't know how to farm and build earthen houses. I barely had done that one time, and but we were going to live a smaller life. And as we bought that house and we're moving out there, I had this feeling like my life is over. It's not. It'll be fine. You know, there's a trail out there. It's not Bellingham Trails. This will be fine. This is how we do it because we'll have enough money just to kind of like keep it going and grow our own food and all that. But I was kind of like, my heart wasn't in it, and it was fear because I didn't know, like, could we, we could have bought a house in Bellingham, and then I would have had to figure out how to make money. And so I thought, well, we'll just like kind of like pull the wagons in and just live smaller, and we've got enough money if we just don't spend a lot of money. And so we went out there, and I don't think there was a mistake in a way because I learned a lot. Also, though, it's like it was fear that was keeping me from just going for it here in this wonderful community. I was so yeah, it's kind of like, when is it like a sign that you go do it, like make this new life in this beautiful town, and when is it a sign that, oh, you go to this other place even though it's like you're giving up something that makes your heart sing? Yeah.
Yeah, when I think about that, it's almost like sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you have to take that side trail
Yeah.
because there's something you do need to learn or experience or have or do or be in that little side trail. So, yeah, is it really fear when you come up to that door and you don't go through? So
Yeah.
that's a really great question.
Yeah, because
So,
in some ways it's not like a mistake that happened. A lot of good stuff
right.
happened with that. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it's meant for you, right?
Yeah.
Because again, life happens for you. It doesn't happen to you. So when you're at that door, that big door, that transformation happens if you go through. When you're standing there and you're facing that fear, when you go inside and take a look at that fear, I know what I think, but what do you come up against when you stand there and deal with that fear in the moment?
And we actually do have something you and I use with our clients, with all sorts of people, whether they're entrepreneurs trying to sell stuff or people trying to figure out what to do in life. One of the bravest places you can go is like you talked about, what's the worst case scenario? And that's a weird place to go because you think, well, I don't want to like manifest the worst case scenario. But the interesting thing is, if you can go to the worst case scenario and live in that possibility in your awareness, your imagination, something happens in your body, of course. It doesn't feel good. And putting your attention on that and staying with it, there's some big gold there. And yeah, what's been your experience with the worst case scenario thinking, and now the way we do stuff to like clear that sort of thing?
Yeah. So actually I use this with my clients because I use it with myself too. When we go inside and we're dealing with that worst case scenario, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to open the door. My life is completely going to flip over. What the hell do I do? Right. That unknown, I think, is what we tend to be so afraid of.
Yeah.
And, I always ask, well, really, what is the worst that can happen? If I go do X, am I going to die? That's the biggest fear. Am I going to die? Right.
Yeah.
Most of the time, no.
Most
You can't die from embarrassment. Maybe you can, but I don't think you can. And that's usually what I find I'm afraid of the most. Is I'm afraid of like totally embarrassing myself, being a complete failure, seeming like I don't know what I'm talking about. Those are legit big fears for me. And the fear of being really successful. I'm not afraid to say I'm afraid of being really successful. And so when I come up against that door and I have those fears, I do ask myself, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I might get some haters. Okay, well, can I deal with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. And so then it's like, all right, well, let's unpack what that feels like, and then you come up against something else. Well, oh, this is the reason, and that gets revealed sometimes. And it's like, okay, well, now let's deal with that. And so it's just a matter of kind of pulling back the layers and just allowing yourself to feel that fear. Because again, if you're not ever dealing with it, if you just keep avoiding it, pushing it away, then that energy is going to stay with you. It's got nowhere to go other than find a little pocket within your body and get stuck, right? And then it can just kind of hang out with you forever. And when when you have this energy that's kind of just sticking around, that you just don't want, it seeps into everything, right? And some of these fears that we have, especially that we've created for ourselves from being young and taking in the world without any filters, those fears
Oh,
served us
yeah.
then, but they don't serve us anymore. But yet we still have them because it's so ingrained within us that it's just become autopilot. It's just a natural reaction. And so when you come up against those fears, by facing them, by looking them right in the face and saying, yeah, I'm afraid of being successful. And then feeling that, like, what does it feel like to be afraid of success? And then what does it feel like to actually have the success you want? And which feels better,
Yeah,
right?
and we have a technique, that process that it can seem very simple. That's why it's so useful to have us go through it with you, is to feel it. Like one of my fears was what I had seen with my parents, had this total failure, and we were nomads, living out of a big U-Haul kind of truck that we owned, and we were always unpacking and packing boxes and living in just weird places. And so that the feeling I had was like, oh my God, I don't want to be like packing up all of our stuff and my boys seeing me fail. It's like that would be like the feeling that that was the real thing, was the like me being out cruising around without success, no big deal. Watching them, their face, that would have been a big one. So yeah, and so what we have is a way to go in and go through that, whatever you want to call it, that door, and feel that feeling. And you would think, well, why would I want to feel that? The thing is, if you feel it one time fully, and it helps to get guided through that process, because it's not a process that you instinctively want to touch. Nobody wants to feel pain. If you go through and you feel that completely, it's done being felt, and it can't hurt you. It's done. And then it can be more clear, like, do I move here? Do I do this? Do I take this step in business? And what's cool is it can show up very fast. Like when Jen and I decided we're going to get back in the world, like we don't know how yet, but we're going to get back in the world. And I thought, I need a coach. It's like, so I literally Googled business coaches for distance healers. And it turns out that's a thing. There was all these coaches. And so I started interviewing them and getting on calls with them to see who do I want. And I picked one from Kathy Wilkie from New York City, which is very interesting because she said, okay, Ralph, I'll work with you, but you have to raise your rates. And I'm like, I don't have very many clients, right? And she goes, this is ridiculous. You have to raise your rates. And so I'm like, okay. So I paid her thousands of dollars that was on a credit card at that time because we'd already burning through lots of cash. And within an hour, I got 3 calls, 3 new clients, international clients at my new rate. And so it was like, oh, energetically, like, oh, that was a sign. And it's how my client Bridget, when she first started with us, it was in a group session, and she was stuck at $3,000 a month. And she had all the skills, all the offer, all the funnels, she had lots of good stuff. She was selling to a group of people that didn't have a lot of money. And she was terrified to be around people that had the kind of money that could really use her help and make a big difference. So we cleared stuff around that. What's interesting is, even though she went from $3,000 a month to $20,000 the next month, and then even beyond that, the month after that, what happened was the first 24 hours before she even did any more sessions, she had $8,000 pop into her account, and she sent me a little Facebook screenshot. And it's kind of like an energetic shift, like kind of like the earthquake happens in the ocean far away, and you're sitting on the west coast of the US, and the ocean looks the same, and it looks the same for a few days, but it's already happening. And so sometimes it shows up energetically right away, and you're like, was it from that? Other times it's like, it seems like it's going slow. When you shift this inner stuff, you're on a different course, and it's just cool. It's like interesting, like when you think of
Yeah.
that's
And it with the energy work too. Yeah, some things do happen right away, but also sometimes you have to be ready to receive whatever it is that you need to receive. And even after a session I did with Ralph, I'm still feeling the waves come through. And when did we meet? Like a month ago, something like that. And I'm still feeling it, because every shift that I make, all the work that I do to release my stuff opens me up. It creates space for those new possibilities to come in, which we put in the field. And now I'm open, I'm more available to receive them.
And
So
I want to interject here too is, with the group sessions, and you and I have our new atomic success secrets that we can tell people about, because, we work one-on-one with people, big changes, and that's wonderful, one-on-one clear stuff. What's cool about the group is other people in the group, as they go through their big shifts, there's an energetic thing that happens. So, I'm different because I hang out with Katie. So it's like there's some, like, what causes what? It's like, God, spirit. So yeah, the group will get you there. Like
that group
my
work
running
is
coach.
really powerful.
Yeah, my running coach, Kevin, who was a world-class runner, and I was trying to run with these world-class kind of dudes, and it was really hard. And he called me Ralphie. Ralphie, you just stay with the group, and the group will get you there. And sure enough, just hanging out with them, it's like osmosis or something.
Yeah.
So there's a benefit for the group. So yeah, it's like, who's healing who?
Yeah, it's all one big energetic exchange, and when
Yeah.
you have all those people working together to lift themselves to their next level, then when you pop in there, then you're already in that energy of being lifted up into your next level. And so it's just that collective energy of the small group. And you can even go out there and talk about the collective energy of human consciousness, right? The
Yeah.
same exact thing. And it's just, we're concentrating it with a smaller group that's doing very, very specific work to heal very specific things, timelines, patterns, whatever you want to call it. And, as we do that work to clear our stuff, we put those possibilities out into the field for the bigger group, the collective consciousness, to also do the same. Because again, when we do it, we are opening up that field for everybody else to tap into. And that right there is really powerful energetically, because you can connect, even if you're not in our groups and you're not necessarily doing this work, you can still connect with that energy field and say, I am open, I'm available to receive some healing. What is available for me? And I always put out there, it's for anybody who wants it. It's for the benefit of the greater good. It's there for you whenever you want it. And it just
Yeah.
stays.
And you had a
People
great
just have
success
it.
story that you might not be able to tell totally for privacy things. The basics are somebody reached out to Katie and said, watching one of our shows or just seemed to be just talking about stuff, she had a big shift in her lungs. So it's kind of, it'd be cool to hear what people are noticing from watching. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah. And usually, when stuff comes up like from your lungs and your throat and stuff, that's meaning like you're clearing out your heart and your throat chakras. You're stepping into more of your authenticity. You're being able to communicate who you are and what you need in a clearer fashion. And so I always find, like, when people are coughing, and I think I got this from Louise Hay. When people are coughing, it means that there's something with their expression that they need to get out.
Yeah, Louis, what
And
an amazing person.
oh my gosh,
I
amazing.
I heard the guy who's now the CEO, Reed
Oh,
Tracy.
Reed Tracy,
I-
yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying they were all in San Diego, and he was an accountant in an accounting firm, and somebody had to go be the accountant for Louise Hay, and they had to draw straws because nobody wanted to do it because she was just so woo-woo and weird, and what is she doing? And she had lots of gay guys, and it was right when AIDS was like unknown and coming out, and like, what is this? And are we going to catch something bad? And so they drew straws, and Reed Tracy had to go be her accountant. And over the years, he now he's the CEO, and he's like totally on board with this way of thinking. And things have changed now. Like, used to be this kind of talk and energetic stuff and clearing fears and anxiety to help with money kind of things. That was just too out there. Nowadays, pretty much anybody that's an entrepreneur or online entrepreneur, or anybody trying to do anything, there's most people now are knowing that the inner mindset and how you think and believe and whatever this is all about makes a big difference. The question is, like, does it translate into, more abundance, happiness, better relationships? So most people though are realizing there's something that's intangible there that needs to shift. You can feel it if you're not kind of aligned with your success. So
Right.
yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
Louise,
Because again, you can say that you want something, you can say it all you want, but if you are not, again, in alignment energetically and believing that you really can have it, and you're clouded by all of these unconscious, subconscious patterns or beliefs or whatever it is that you've picked up, then your words aren't really going to do anything for you. That's a lot of times, that's why affirmations don't work for you. It's because you're saying one thing, but the energy behind those words is not aligned. And so therefore you can say, I am open and money comes to me so easily and so effortlessly. But if you secretly believe, oh my gosh, I can't have money, then that money is not going to show up for you in the way you want it to. You might find a penny, right? There you go. You have more money than you had before, right?
Yeah.
So getting into alignment, clearing out all that stuff is really important, because otherwise it's going to compromise what it is that you're trying to do. And even I started a new book, Biology of Belief, by
so good.
Dr. Bruce Lipton. And within the first 10 pages, that's exactly what he's talking about. It's your environment, and your environment isn't necessarily just what's around you. You have an inner environment too. So, what's happening on the inside, because the inside creates the out. So what's going on inside that you might be brushing up against, that's showing up as resistance or fear or even procrastination? And how is that affecting what it is that you're trying to create in your life? And are you willing to let it go?
Yeah,
That's
and
the
there's a
biggest
real
question.
specific way that we have to let it go that's not like just trying to think positively or somehow change your belief, or it's real specific. I've got a 5-minute video that explains it, and what we can do, what Katie and I can do, we can't do this forever, or for, there's a limited amount of our time. We can talk with you if this is interesting to you, and spend a little time and go, okay, Katie, we can look at what's going on with you and see, oh, here's what we see. Like, here's what we see that's in the way, and then give you more how to do this, going inside and clearing it instead of just trying to cover it up or mindset hack it. So we can do that for you, for people that are watching. If you're watching this, then you can still probably, check and see our schedule. We'll get you in there somewhere to take a look. And if you're a good fit, we have something for you. And so there's a gift for you. You can actually go here and you'll see my 5-minute video, and then you can come into our world a little bit more and find a time for you with us. And it's ralphhavens.com / let me just go get it. ralphhavens.com / atomic8. So that's an interesting thing, atomic, because in that small space is the infinite energy, and 8 is such a cool symbol for infinity and money. And so Ralph Havens, that's my name, .com / atomic8. And we can, I can chat with you. You can reach out to Katie on Facebook, or email, reach out to me, and we can take a look and see what's going on for you and what's in the way. And if we have a really cool gift for you that we've created that we're excited to be able to get this to you. So if you're interested in a little bit more information about that, go there. And I got to jump off in about a minute. Katie and I had such an interesting time with technology today, so did a short one.
Yeah, but we were able to bring this to you, not live, but that's okay. It's still here. It's still here for you. So I guess we'll end it here. Let's just say thank you so much for watching and joining us today. Let us know in the comments what you bump up against when you're at the door. You know, what's on the other side of it for you, and are you having trouble going through? Let us know. And if there's anything else we can do to help you in the meantime, reach out to us, and we'll be back here next week. Same time, same place.
Yeah, let's go have some fun. Okay, I'm signing off. I'll sign off for us too, Katie, and I'll send you this and we'll get it to everybody. Okay,
Right.
bye.
Bye.